Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to be with you all again, and we're very blessed to be here in the association of Bhakta Micheal again, and reading the Bhagavatam together and discussing the higher topics of life. Whenever we come, we always get to have some chance. Probably could do with having more time, but we get some time together where we discuss and chat. And today we're going to be reading from where Michael is reading in his second journey through the Bhagavatam, and we're in the second canto. So where are we going to be reading from today?
From chapter 10 and text number 12.
Okay.
Doing with the ingredients, activities, and times and modes of material versus spiritual world.
Okay, so we'll start with the invocation.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so would you like to read?
Okay. One should definitely know that all material ingredients, activities, time, and modes, and the living entities who are meant to enjoy them all exist by His mercy only, and as soon as He does not care for them, everything becomes non-existent. The living entities are the enjoyers of the material ingredients, times, modes, etc., because they want to lord it over the material nature. The Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and the living entities are meant to assist the Lord in His enjoyment and thus participate in the transcendental enjoyment of everyone. The enjoyer and the enjoyed both participate in enjoyment, but diluted by the illusory energy. The living entities want to become the enjoyer like the Lord, although they are not meant for such enjoyment. The jivas, the living entities, are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita as the Lord's superior nature, or Paraparakte, and so also it is mentioned in the Vishnu Purana. Therefore, the living entities are never the Purasas or the factual enjoyers. As such, the spirit of enjoyment by the living entity in the material world is false. In the spiritual world, the living entities are pure in nature, and therefore they are associates of the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. In the material world, the spirit of enjoyment of the living entities, by dint of their own actions, karma, gradually fades by the laws of nature, and thus the illusory energy dictates that the ears of the conditioned souls that they should become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of the illusory energy. When the last illusion is also cleared off by the mercy of the Lord, the living entity again becomes reinstated in his original position and thus becomes actually liberated. For this attainment of liberation from the material clutches, the Lord creates the material world, maintains it for some time, 1,000 years of His measurement as stated in the previous verse, and then again annihilates it by His will. The living entities are therefore completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, and all their so-called enjoyments of scientific improvement are crushed into dust when the Lord desires.
Wow, powerful purport.
Powerful, huh?
Any thoughts, reflections?
I think we get so involved in our day-to-day life. It's all encompassing of being around the material world that it's hard to see the light of day to know what's all coming from. And the materialistic world that we live in is full of illusions, and we have, and I think most people don't realize the effect of the material world on us versus why we're here. The question I think that I always have been fighting is what's the purpose of our life? what are we here for? You know, why are we here? And I know we're here are we here to enjoy all these things that we have? You know, the sex, for example, or the you know, your physical body. Everything has to do with your physical. You taste the food, and then are we here to enjoy all the surroundings of all the guitars and all, you know, just like
Music, by the way.
Music, yeah, and or is there something more? And the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, they spell that out for you. They help you get through that. They see the light. They clear the smoke from the air, and you could see better, and you can understand better what you're really here for is not that at all. It's about the trip that we take here and continue to take after life is over. It's about the body and how frail it is. All this material things that you see in this room, that's frail. In 10 years it won't even exist. When I'm gone, this room will go with me. And so that's deep and personal, but it's everybody has that thought. But I'm not saying everybody. That's not really not true. It's not. Some people don't think about it at all. It just depends on what mode of they're in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
So this leads to a whole.
Well, they may think about it, but not talk about
That's right.
it. Try to unthink it as quickly
Exactly.
as
Try to unthink it. Yeah. They don't want to. The reality of it is hard to accept.
hard to face.
Yeah. So that's basically what I get out of
that's powerful.
out of this. It's just it's the Krishna is all that we have here is parts and parcel, and is brought to us through the media of Krishna, and sometimes it's hard to see it that way.
I thought it was interesting how Srila Prabhupada weaved in to the purport. He says, in the spiritual world, the living entities are pure in nature, and therefore they are associates in the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. So it means when we're pure in nature, we can enjoy.
That's right.
And we enjoy with Krishna, but it's done in a different spirit, in a different mood.
Yeah.
But then it says, in the material world, the spirit of enjoyment of the living entities, by dint of their own actions, karma, gradually fades by the laws of nature, and thus the illusory energy dictates, which is interesting how Prabhupada states that, the illusory energy dictates in the ears of the conditioned souls that they should become one with the Lord.
Yeah.
So he weaves in this propensity or tendency that in the conditioned state of desiring to enjoy, we see what happens is what you said, that it just disintegrates, it all dissipates after some
it's
time.
like our bodies, they have a short lifespan.
Yes. But when one realizes that, then the material energy whispers something else, and Prabhupada says that becomes the last snare of the illusory energy. And the material energy makes us think, oh, okay, so then let me give up all variegatedness, all variety, and just merge and become one with the Lord. And Prabhupada is saying that this is the last trap, because we're trying to enjoy the variegatedness, thinking that I'm God or I'm the Lord of all that I survey, so I can enjoy. But when we realize we can enjoy, then we think, okay, so I can enjoy here pretending to be God, so let me merge into God and enjoy that way.
Right.
So it's still a propensity of enjoyment, driven by a propensity for enjoyment, but it's ever so slightly different. And then Prabhupada, he says, this is the last snare of Maya, of the illusory energy.
That's it.
So it's interesting.
You can't become one. You can't become God But you can become one with God, but you can't become God.
Yes. And even in our distinction would be becoming one with God means one in mood, one in service, one in in love,
right.
But not one, because you can merge. That's the idea. You merge into the Brahma Jyoti, into the energy of God.
Yeah.
But you don't stay there, because the nature of the jiva is that we want to enjoy. We want to have experience. We want to have relationship.
Exactly.
So therefore, sitting in that this is a little boring. Maybe I want to hang out with Michael again.
No.
and then we take birth again. Because we're searching for that.
It repeats
thing.
itself. Right.
So interesting. Okay, would you like to read another verse in purport? I think we have time.
Let me see here. Okay. The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol. You have to tell me what that means. Golden in hue, through the external energy out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone. In the Bhagavad Gita, the creation and annihilation of the material world are stated as follows. At the end of each millennium, the creative forces, namely the material nature and the living entities who struggle in the material nature, all merge together into the transcendental body of the Lord. And again, when the Lord desires to manifest, all of them are again displayed by the Lord. Therefore, the material nature is working under the control of the Lord. All of them, under the agency of material nature and under the control of the Lord, are thus repeatedly created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. As such, before the creation of manifestation of the material cosmic world, the Lord exists as total energy, and thus desiring himself to be diffused to many. He expands himself further into multi-total energy. From the multi-total energy, he further expands himself into the individuals in 3 dimensions, namely, I can't pronounce this.
Adhyatmic,
Adhyatmic,
Adidaivic, and
Adibhotic, as explained before. As such, the whole creation and the creative energies are non-different and different simultaneously, because everything is an emanation from him. Nothing of the cosmic energy is different from him, and all these expanded energies have specific functions and display as designed by the Lord, and therefore they are simultaneously different from the Lord. The living entities are also similar energy, marginal potency of the Lord, and thus they are simultaneously one with and different from him. At the stage of non-manifestation, the living energies remain potent in the Lord, and when they are let loose in the cosmic manifestation, they are exhibited differently in terms of different desires under the modes of nature. Such differential manifestations of the living energies are conditional states of living entities. The liberated living entities, however, in the Sanatana internal manifestation are unconditionally surrendered souls, and therefore they are not subject to the conditions of creation and annihilation. So this creation takes place by the glance of the Lord from his bedside of mystic slumber, and thus all the universes and the Lord of the universe, Brahma, are again and again manifested and annihilated. That's a
very technical purport.
Yeah, very technical. I'll let you lead with this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's a lot going on in this purport.
Yeah. I mean, I would pick up mostly on the second paragraph, where it says, as such, before the creation and manifestation of the material cosmic world, the Lord exists as total energy.
Okay.
So that means just an amalgamation of all the energies. There's no distinction. It's just
no universe,
a ball of energy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's called Mahasamashti.
Okay.
And thus, desiring himself to be diffused to many, then he expands himself further into multi-total energy, samashti. And from the multi-total energy, he further expands himself into individuals in 3 dimensions, namely Adhyatmic, Adidaivic, and Adibhotic, as explained before. Vyasti. So that must have been discussed previously.
Yes,
Now,
and I missed that. Because I still didn't quite understand that. Do you want to dwell on that?
yeah,
for a
so
minute?
let's go with these three things: adhyatmic,
Yes.
adhidaivic,
Yeah.
and adhibhotic.
Okay.
So generally, these terms are used differently, ever so slightly differently in different places. But the root principle, generally we hear these three terms when we discuss the three kleshas or miseries of the material
Miseries
world.
of the three worlds, which are birth
Okay.
and death and disease.
Yes, and old age.
And old age,
It's
four.
often given
Old
as
age, yeah.
four, but that's
Yeah.
not specifically what this was referring to. Those are the kind of, there's generally three areas or primary areas of misery or suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Adhyatmic means, atmic means of myself.
Of the body, the diseases of the body.
Yes, body
Yes.
and
I had that
mind.
Mind, yeah.
So
Body and
this is diseases of the body and mind.
Yeah.
Adhibhotic, from other living
for
entities.
other living entities.
So, it might be the flies.
Yeah,
As I know
right,
since
right,
we opened the door
right,
now, there's a
right,
few
right,
flies
right.
in here. Or it could be mosquitoes or alligators or bears
Right.
or your husband or your wife or your kids.
Right.
It's like, or the boss or it's another living entity is giving me distress.
And
And then
third?
adhidaivic.
Adhidaivic, what is
Daivi means divine,
divine?
nature.
Nature,
So the heat.
the heat.
Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be really hot,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
pounding sun,
Yeah.
or
Nature.
it just rains and rains and rains,
Right.
and so you're
Mother
suffering
Nature.
in that way, or
Right.
horrendous cold,
Right.
or floods, or tornadoes.
So the misery of within the body, deterioration of the body, what we all go through as we get older.
Absolutely.
And then the many possibilities of having it. We have a friend down in Washington D.C. who is suffering because of a tick bite. He fell down close to the Susquehanna. He has a little cabin that he goes to in the summer or on weekends, and he was down close to and he fell down, and he's in his 80s, and he laid there for 3 hours before somebody picked him up, and he got a tick bite, and he's been in a hospital ever since. So that's the
Very
that's
adhibhotic.
adhibhotic.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then the third, nature, we're all suffering in the heat here, and we're not suffering like they are down south, and
Yeah.
and it's continuous. It's continuous suffering from nature. It's it's the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, the
Forest fires.
I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Yes.
And,
So these are those things. So Krishna starts as total energy, then he divides into multi-total energy, so he starts to divide himself.
Yes.
And then he creates the three adhyatmic, the experience of the body, the experience of the other living entities, and experience of the nature. As such, the whole creation and the creative energies are non-different and different simultaneously. So it means it's all his energy.
Yeah.
It's all his energy, but it's not him.
Right. Okay.
So it is the same.
It's the energy,
And
but
the
it doesn't influence him.
It doesn't influence him for sure,
yeah.
but it's also not him.
Yeah.
It's his energy. And Prabhupada gives the
It's
example like the
external
sun.
Yeah.
So we all benefit or suffer because of the sun's energy.
Right.
But the sun's energy is not the sun planet.
Yeah. It's
It's the energy. So
Yeah.
it's simultaneous, but you can't have the energy if you don't have the sun.
Yeah.
So they're uniquely connected
Yes,
in unity,
yes, yeah.
but they're also diverse in their
Diverse.
individuality.
Wow, that's
Just
great.
like you have a son and a daughter.
Right.
And, what's the saying? They say that the father lives on through the son. You know, let's just use that example. It's given in the Bhagavatam by Prabhupada. But, so your son is your son. He's of your body.
Right.
You created him, in one sense. You gave life to his body. But he's not you.
Right.
But
I see.
he is you.
Part and parcel.
Part and parcel.
Yeah.
So like that. So that's the principle of simultaneous oneness and difference.
And difference. Wow, that's
and see,
great.
what often happens is there's the philosophy. Over the years, there were different philosophies, Vedic philosophies. You know, Shankaracharya, he promoted one. It's all one. Everything is God. Everything is God's energy. We are God's energy. It's all one. Then Madhvacharya came, and he said, no, it's all two. There's God, and then there's everything else. And they're distinctly different. There's God, and there's the living entity. We are not one with God. And he was known to always be doing like this. Then Lord Chaitanya came, and he said, it's both. We are one, because we are like sparks of the original fire that have fallen off. So we're still of the original nature, but we are distinctly unique. So, and the point being there that we are qualitatively one with God, means that we are made up of spiritual energy, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, eternality, knowledge, and bliss. So we're Sat, Chit, and Ananda. But quantitatively, we are infinitely smaller
we're like
than
an atom
the Lord, who is infinitesimal and infinite. So he is infinite, and we are infinitesimal.
Gets real technical.
It is. But actually, once you hear it, it's like, oh yeah, bingo, makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense. So, okay, anyway, those are a few thoughts. So, you okay? We finish here? Unless you had some other reflections?
I mean, as far as reading again, I think this is good.
Okay.
We're probably close to our 20-minute limit.
We're just getting over now. But I mean, it's not a limit. We can go over. But if we start talking again, if we pick up on another topic, we could be here for another 20 minutes.
That's right.
So I think it's good. We'll finish here, and we thank you all very much for tuning in, and thank you to those persons who tune in, who are always appreciative of Michael and our readings with Michael and his input. And
I have one more.
You're a great source of inspiration for many people.
But you're the teacher, and this is why I gravitate toward Jai. Is when I read this, I was really not certain what I was reading, because it's a lot of sort. I don't have the background that Jai has, and it's on the words, and those three words that I still cannot pronounce, and that's the wonderful part of having a guru or someone who is way far above you in this spiritual knowledge. And can interpret it for me. It's almost like a foreign language. And so,
absolutely.
When I was reading this, I apologize for all those who are saying, what is he talking about? Because I know if my wife or any of my relatives would see me sitting here doing this, they say, what is he doing? What is the stuff he's reading? And it didn't make sense, did it? But then Jai explained it. He explained it fantastically. Because he's been down that path for the last 20 years. And so I value greatly having him as my neighbor, as Krishna sent him to me, or I sent him. Krishna sent Jai to me under mystic circumstances, and that continues on today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
The only way I can give any knowledge is because I have also heard from those who have seen the truth, as Bhagavad Gita explains. So I'm just simply passing it on. What is it Prabhupada called? Transcendental mailman.
Transcendental mailman. That's great. So, we're all mailmen.
Male persons.
Right. Male persons. Right.
All right, thank you all very, very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share.
That's it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.